Awesome. All right, welcome everyone to a new stream, Grandmaster's Choice. Last week we did some tactics from my games, and we're actually gonna follow the theme with some of my more, I would say, recent games. Some of them are not as recent, some of them are recent, so we're just gonna have some fun stuff, a lot of tactics. You guys probably know how I play chess at this point. It's all tactics and sacrifices and stuff. So we're gonna be continuing that theme. Some of this stuff is gonna be easy maybe, but some of them are gonna be complicated. So let's get at it. All right. So here I'm playing with the white pieces. This was actually played in St. Louis back when I was in IM chasing my GM norms, and it was the very first round of a norm tournament. So it was very important for me to start it off well, although at the end I didn't end up getting the GM norm. I would say I did have a decent shot at it back in the day. And yeah, we got to this position somehow. I was playing with the white pieces and it was from the Caro-Kann. And here my opponent played this move, c5. So this is a very thematic way of proceeding with the white pieces, so I'm just going to let you guys calculate basically until the very end. And yeah, this is just a warm-up, so it's just going to be more about having fun and just calculating stuff to your best ability. Just because it's warm-up doesn't mean that you have to assume it's easy, or if you can't solve it, it's not a problem. But if you solve it very quickly as well, it's just it's great. It's good to know that you're very sharp, but there's more and more to come. So take your time, and yeah, we're gonna get at it. So knight takes d7 is the first suggestion, and that's exactly what you should start instantly thinking about. Yep, the bishop f6 line suggestion is perfect. It's actually exactly the solution we're looking for. So that's great. That's great. I remember you guys from the last week. But let's kind of address what's wrong with knight d7. I mean, not that there is something concretely wrong, other than black recapturing with the knight, and they're actually not losing on the spot at this point. So yeah, most of you are getting it in the chat, but for the viewers maybe assuming that knight d7 looks good, is after knight takes knight, we don't really have the attack going on. But yeah, the quick solution is actually bishop takes f6. Opponent's gonna recapture. Opponent's gonna recapture with the knight. Rook takes. Pawn takes. Queen g4 check. King h8 and then queen h4. This is the critical move, I would say, because you're threatening the f6 pawn as well as the h7 pawn. And of course black has to play f5, queen f6, king g8, and then finally the rook lift is the critical one. So this threatening rook g3 check, and you can't really stop it. My opponent played f4. There are many ways to win this position, but what is the most forcing move you guys can actually think about? Yeah, bishop h7, rook h3. I also see the suggestion of bishop f6, knight f6, rook f6, gf6, bishop h7 check, and then a rook lift. I also see that suggestion. This is possible too, and it totally is fine. I just thought that queen g4 is just more accurate, because it just like gives the opportunity to sort of force everything until the mate. So yeah, this is relatively easy, I would say. All right, so the next one. This one is also memorable, I would say. I'm just gonna flip the board real quick. Yeah, queen g4 looked much more solid, and it's just ends the game immediately. So here I am a young boy. At this time, I was chasing IM norms, I would say. Actually, I didn't get my IM norm in this tournament. It was in 2011, I believe. I might actually be wrong about it, but I think this was 2011 or maybe 2010. 2010 sounds about right, actually. Yeah, I'm playing with the black pieces against a much higher rated player, actually. He was almost 250 points higher rated than me. And I believe my last move was knight on b8 to a6, attacking this bishop. And in this position, my opponent played the move rook e to b1, sort of like defending their bishop. It's actually quite logical when you do it this way, because you basically want to take the knight back and then kind of like solidify your rook and then maybe put pressure here, and you have a very good center. So it's not as clear what I should be doing, but I think I did find a nice way of playing here. Although my opponent definitely did have good ways to defend, or better ways to defend, I should say. They did kind of mess it up afterwards a little bit. So let's see if you guys can follow it up. And then I'm thinking of going into a much more fun game after this. Fun in terms of beauty, I would say. Yeah, there are a couple of nice games which we can go over. All right, so go at it. It's black to play, and how would you proceed? Okay, continue that line. Continue that line. So the suggestion instantly was, of course, the logical knight takes b4, rook takes b4, queen d6, attacking these two guys. Knight takes e4 is a suggestion, but knight takes e4, f takes e4. It's on the YouTube chat, by the way. Knight e4, f e4. I don't see the follow-up. It's just a free knight. So knight takes e4 is not going to cut it. Queen c3, rook a3. Okay, continue that line. It doesn't end. Keep it up. You're a strong player, so I think you can calculate till the end. Okay, maybe knight h5 is a suggestion. Oops. Knight h5 is definitely a suggestion. c3 is not good, exactly as you pointed out. Bishop takes e6. You're right. It's not good. Yeah. So yeah, this is the line that was proposed, but queen c3 happens afterwards. And then after queen c3, rook a3 was proposed. In the Twitch chat. Is there any queen sack ideas? Queen sack, maybe possible. Of course, you never know. Queen a6 is suggested by Rob. After rook a3, white has e5. Okay. How do you proceed after e5? It's a good move. Strong. e5, knight d5. Yes. Okay. All right. So there are quite a lot of suggestions, but there is one that's going towards something. And how about first simple preparing? First simple what? Preparing c3. How do you prepare c3? So here, like the main suggestion I would say is this: queen d6, queen c3. Oh, queen e7 you mean? Well, queen e7 in any situation, queen d6 is better, right? Because you're attacking these guys. When you put the queen on e7, you're just attacking the rook. At least playing this actually helps to attack these two guys at the same time. So obviously if e5, you pick up the rook. If queen b2, oh, okay. This is what you're suggesting. Queen to d7. All right, okay, that's what you meant. I see. And what's the idea if I, let's say, go, for now, let's say I go here? Because I know you're threatening c3. You just want to go c3 here, right? Yeah, and then let's say I play here. I'm not sure if we are immediately winning. Knight takes, rook takes. Yeah. I mean, this looks promising for black too. You can sack the exchange, but he's going to take it back with the rook. But queen d7, definitely an interesting move. And I'm not saying it's bad or anything. It's definitely a move. What I did was I took and then played queen d6, attacking the rook and the pawn. And my opponent played queen to c3, defending both the pieces, which is logical. And that's why I was asking to continue the line, because here actually is the trick where we kind of have to rely on the moment we play knight takes b4 and then queen d6. And that is rook to a3. So I'm attacking the queen, which is very critical. If you take my rook, I'm going to take on d4, and then I'm going to win the rook on a1, because the bishop is in between the queen and the rook. So what my opponent did is he played this move, queen to b2. What his intention is, initially he couldn't play queen b2 here, because then I go c3. I win, right? Because I am forking the queen and the bishop. However, after queen c3, rook a3, queen b2, if I go c3, now my opponent's simply going to take my rook, and this rook is going to defend that knight. So I have to take here, but I didn't really win the game, right? Because, I mean, surely I have this threat, and it's probably not that easy to defend, but maybe a move like rook d1, and after rook c1, bishop b3 might just simply hold. Obviously, there can be tricks and stuff, but at least this is not that clear. So here, after queen b2, how do we proceed? How do we continue the game? Rook d3 is definitely an interesting move, with the idea to like sort of attack this guy, and you're threatening c3. So I like that move actually. The only sort of flaw to it, maybe not a flaw even, is that this move is looking annoying. Maybe it's not such a huge deal, but it can be annoying at times, right? Because it's a fork. Well, if you go knight d5, your queen is hanging, Rob. So you can't really do that. Yeah. I mean, you might be able to go like c3, hit the queen. This looks like a chaos. But I don't think this is any good, because if you go there, he's just going to take, we're going to take, and then he's just going to take back, right? Rook takes, bishop, then c3. Yep, you guys got it. Instead of rook d3, I played rook takes. Yeah, in that case, queen takes is possible, but then you didn't win the game, right? You're just like playing, but he's going to take here, and then he's going to take maybe here. You don't win anything. You just traded a bunch of pieces for nothing. So what I did instead is I took on a2. You can't take with the queen because I take your rook. So I'm sacrificing the rook in exchange. But after the queen takes, now I play c3. I'm attacking the queen and the rook and the knight, I'm sorry. And also I'm keeping pressure on this rook on b4 at the same time. So here, my opponent played queen b3. I took his knight. He took back. And now what do? How do we proceed here? How do we proceed in this position? Rook c1. Okay, king f2. Rook c1 and then queen takes h2 definitely wins. There's better though. There's much better than just winning the pawn on h2. And obviously, you should detect this like during the game. So, of course, many ways win. There is no like, oh, this is good, that's bad kind of stuff. But I usually like to be as efficient as possible if I can calculate till the end. And this is quite straightforward. So it's not too difficult. Bishop takes e4, even more forcing. There is even more forcing. As forcing as you can do it, right? Like, where are the forcing stuff? It's like checks and captures. But even more forcing than checks or captures is checks and captures, right? You do both at the same time. So that kind of gives away everything, but that's a check and a capture. So basically you take something and you're giving a check. That kind of comes on top of my priority usually, because opponent generally has to react. And here my opponent resigned, but if they took the knight, I would have played queen f4 check, hitting the king and the rook. And if you defend your rook, I give check again, king e3 only move, rook e1. And that's going to lead to mate very soon. Also line opening, queen, knight g4 is also possible. But again, in this case, he doesn't have to take the knight. He can just run away. But in the knight e4 case, he kind of has to, otherwise the rook on d2 is hanging. So stuff like that. So keep in mind, like if you are looking for a tactic, you feel it, look at the stuff that captures something and gives a check. Put that in your priority. That might actually help you solve a lot of tactics puzzles. Like again, this is, many other moves win. Like queen takes h2 is winning. That's capturing a piece. Knight g4 probably maybe also winning. I'm not sure if it's like fully winning because of king e2. Like bishop e4 might still be winning, but why not do stuff that wins immediately by more forcing ways? So, all right. So we're gonna go into this position, right? This is not like white to play or win, and at no point, like in this position, in this current position, I'll claim that this is winning or anything. But yeah, here my opponent played knight g6. So the opening phase doesn't really matter, but it came from a Sicilian, as you probably all can guess. I was not a GM back then at this point still. I was an IM chasing GM norms. And this was at the World Juniors in Khanty-Mansisk, Russia. And playing very strong. I think Chinese, was he a Grandmaster? I think he was a Grandmaster at that time already. But if not, then he is a very strong Grandmaster now. So, yeah, it's white to play. The first move, obviously, is going to be everyone's first guess. Like, I'm almost sure everyone's going to write the move in the chat, but it's not that clear how do you make progress after that. So, just take some time, and yeah, of course, the first move is like everyone's going to type it in, and it's like, at this point, you probably all know how I play chess, right? I just sacrifice a bunch of stuff, a lot of tactics, have some creativity behind it, and that's how I usually prefer playing. So the first move, again, you're all going to guess it, and it's going to be normal to all of you, but I want you to come up with an idea or a couple of ideas right after. So I want to at least spend a little bit more time on this one because I think it's a nice game, and it has actually a lot of depth to it. So it would be interesting to see if you guys can give a line or two or something about what you're thinking, how the game would develop from this position onwards. It's also very early on in the opening. It's just move 13. So, and yeah, we're gonna see after what happens. So yeah, the suggestion immediately popped up in the chat, knight takes b5. But how does knight, like, would you sacrifice this knight takes b5 in the real game without seeing until the end, saying, oh, this is intuitively good, or would you just sacrifice it only after you're 100% sure? I think this is the critical question to ask, because if someone is asking you white to play, you're probably going to be leaning towards knight takes b5. But I, to be honest, don't see a way immediately winning. There is no immediate win. So why is knight takes b5 even a strong move if there is no win? Plus, I give up my knight, but I also open up the a file for my opponent. So there is stuff that needs to be considered, I would say. Yeah, idea of bishop a3 attacking d6 with queen and the rook. Yeah, definitely. This is an idea to put pressure there. I mean, one issue is you might go something like rook c8 and then put pressure to my knight, and it's kind of annoying, I would say. So the suggestion is knight b5, a b5, bishop b5, king e7, f4, with the idea to go e5 and opening up a3, f8 diagonal. That's quite interesting. So the suggestion is takes, bishop takes, and then king here, f4. It's quite interesting with the idea that you want to go e5 on the next move and then try to go bishop a3 stuff. The only thing is that bishop a3 ideas, you have to spend at least an extra tempo, because the rook on a8 is always going to sort of annoy your bishop coming to a3. And the other idea on the YouTube chat suggested was, was the following: knight b5, a b5, bishop b5, king e7, and then the move g5. So what do you guys think, especially the ones on Twitch, what do you guys think is the idea of g5? The idea is written on the YouTube chat, but not on the Twitch, so I'm just giving it as an example for the viewers there. Queen f6, exactly. You're threatening queen f6 mate, which is kind of cute to demonstrate. So knight b5, I think it's an interesting move, as well as g5 is an interesting move. Objectively speaking, I think the better move is f4, as far as I remember. This was in 2015. I didn't really analyze it with an engine after 2015. But as far as I remember, this was one of the best moves. g5 wasn't particularly the top choice or anything, but just to illustrate the idea, after rook takes a2, which leads to checkmate, as you guys saw, it's queen f6 check, and after g takes, you can actually take with the pawn. And actually, one of the funny debates I had is, in this position, do you take with the pawn for the aesthetics and checkmating with the pawn? I mean, taking with the pawn or taking with the bishop, more of the aesthetic kind, because this would just kind of bishops crossing over, and it's kind of a nice mate, I would say. So that's kind of the debate, of which one is the better one. But of course, the idea is mainly to prevent stuff like queen a5, let's say, with the idea queen f6 takes and then bishop takes. The sniper bishops was, yeah, it's quite cool, I would say. So g5, of course. So if you're playing with the black pieces, how do you respond to this, right? How do you respond? You got to go e5. Pawn 100%. Yeah, pawn is good. Someone's asking my rating in the YouTube chat. My FIDE rating is 2568 as of right now. And the USCF is 26 plus probably. So, yeah, so e5 was played. e5. And what do we do? Where do we put our queen? Thank you. So the queen can go to multiple different squares. Yeah, you guys are absolutely nailing it. You guys are very, very strong. Queen b4. And you guys are absolutely right. I want to target d6 pawn with my rook, with my queen, maybe potentially bishop here, but also sometimes I want to go f4, and then if knight takes, I want to go bishop takes e5, so I need this pawn to be somewhat pinned on d6. So I played it exactly as you guys said, queen to b4. And my opponent played queen b6, very logical too. He is sort of continuing to defend the d6 pawn, but he's also putting some pressure on the bishop on b5. And I played the move f4, attacking the center, putting more pressure, kind of gaining more space, and just flowing, like continuing the attack. If knight takes f4, the idea is to take bishop takes e5, right? And then attack the knight, and then attack this guy. So this just looks like a disaster. So my opponent played the move bishop a6, and I completely understand this move because I can't take the bishop because my queen is hanging. So what do I do? So what do I do? How do I keep the game going, continue attacking, and a4 definitely a good choice, and good to see you, Aziz, welcome. So a4 definitely a very good suggestion, with the idea that after bishop takes you want to take with the pawn, I assume. And yeah, this is definitely something I had in mind. And the position still is probably not yet winning, because in this position he can go this move, king e8. I remember this when I was analyzing it, and king e8 actually just like holds the position together, because you get rid of this bishop, right? You don't necessarily want to do that. So that's not what I did. It's the most tempting move, I would say, but it's not what I did. Oops. And the engine confirms king e8 is the way. And it actually gives advantage to the black pieces. So even more dangerous. You say rook d5, I think, right? You wrote rook d4, but I'm assuming you're suggesting rook d5. With the idea of like defending the bishop laterally and then bringing this rook into the attack if the opponent takes. So that's exactly what I played. I played rook d5, and bishop a3 is another suggestion, by the way. So bishop a3 is also up there, but it has its own flaws, I would say. And I'm going to come back to this. Actually, I don't have to. You can just take with the queen. What am I talking about? If queen takes, there's king e8. There is no mate. So I don't have to readdress this. I thought there is a nice defense, but this is just how it's done. F takes e5 with the idea to go there to the king. Well, once again, he can simply go queen takes b5, right? And after like queen takes d6, simply king e8 or something, and there's no mate. There's nothing. Down two pieces also, it's not good, because he's gonna take. He might try to like liquidate or get his bishop in, and then there's not going to be much happening. So I played rook d5. I defend my bishop, but my opponent is like, okay, I'm going to go bishop b7. I'm going to kick your rook out. What do you do then? Like, where's your rook going to go to? What do you do then? Rook hd1, rook e5, yeah. So you guys are willing to sack everything. F takes e5. Well, first of all, let's address rook hd1. It's a logical move. You want to improve your rook, right? You want to bring the last piece into the attack and attack like that. Sack the rook, yeah. So takes. Let's see. You all like to sack stuff. Let's see how we can deal with this. So you're threatening rook takes d6 or something, right? I don't remember the exact defense here. As far as I remember, I did not it is very easy. Sack, sack, mate. It's easy to sack your pieces. As far as I remember, this doesn't like quite work. Also, we're not really like threatening anything, right? Like, I mean, we're threatening fe5 maybe, right? But nothing more than that. So, out of curiosity, let's say I take here, you take there, I go knight e6. Where's the mate? Somebody show me the mate. I don't see it. We're down a rook. I don't know for what. And we just sacrificed more pieces. So queen g1 check is possible too, but maybe the flaw to that is like I have rook d1 back, so at least white can pretend like something is going on. But I don't see what you do after I just take and go knight takes and then knight blocks, and I just don't see the way forward in this position. So that's one thing. The other thing is what if bishop takes? Okay, I guess we got raided. Thank you for the raid. Bishop takes e5 will lead to that, so it doesn't win at all. It actually probably loses all my pieces, and I would prefer to not lose all my pieces. Not sure what the best move in this position is, but this looks strong, trying to trade queens. Maybe it's not that strong, but it looks good, at least for now. Maybe. No. Oh, actually, look. Here, I'm not sure if this is good, but rook e1 might be interesting. Which is funny, because you can't take that. Bishop f6 is mate. That's funny. However, there must be something. Queen c5 is not that great. This is quite funny. Ooh, okay. But like I can take this and then go queen c5. Yeah, this is just gonna win. No, this is not working. Not knight e5 then queen e3. Where? Yeah, also possible. But my only like slight issue with that was I'm not really threatening to win the pawn because there's rook e1. Of course, I'm not checking any of this with the computer, so half the stuff I say might not be valid. But we're just going to assume that some of it makes sense. So bishop b7. The other suggestion we didn't look at was f takes e5. It's possible. And I think this is more serious than... This is a serious attempt, I would say. Like, this position looks quite unclear to me. I don't see, like, the immediate defense or anything, and there is certainly a lot of attack potential. It still is not, like, winning, probably. Like, the computer might hold after some stuff like this still. But it's worth considering it. I did something else. And honestly, I would recommend this to, like, you audience also. If you have the chance of, like, even repeating it the second time, you should go for it. I played rook back to d2. I played back to d2. Not to d1, but my opponent played back to a6. So I have the option to go rook d5 back. And if I really want to figure things out later, or maybe take the draw, it's up to me. So he played that. So what do we do now? How do we proceed? We have to sort of like bring all the like dots together. We have been playing g5 and then f4 and then like queen b4 and all these things, and then we sacrifice the piece, but we're not really like doing much. I mean, it's all cool, but like you don't want to make a draw and leave. Nobody wants that after sacrificing a knight and going for something fancy, and then you're like, oh, it's a draw. So we wanna do better. Rook hd1 is being suggested in the YouTube chat. Okay, it's a logical move. Like, you bring your rook. Yeah, rook hd1. Everyone is like big on this move. Everyone thinks like this move wins on the spot or something. Nobody's giving any lines, so I'm just gonna ask you guys to write a bit more, because the bishop on b5 is literally hanging, and it can be taken with the queen or with the bishop. So it would be nice to sort of maybe think without moving the pieces. It's a very, very reasonable move, yeah. Rook d1. But how does the game go? How do you follow it up until the end? And also, what is the evaluation of this position? Like, is it winning for white? Is it like a draw, or is it unclear? Is it slightly better for white, slightly better for black? Like, winning for black? It can also be that. Maybe I've just been like sacrificing stuff for no reason. So what do you guys have in mind? Why are you sacrificing all my pieces without backing it up? Yeah, we have somebody writing the full solution. Better for black. Black has a bishop and rook that has not moved. Queen takes d6. Yep. That's perfect. I'll just call you Wagner. If it's correct, great. If it's not, I'm sorry. It's close enough, right? Wagner. So perfect line, absolutely. Rook h d1, sacrificing. Black winning, they say. And then, yeah, so rook d1. The idea is after queen takes b5, queen takes d6, king d8, queen d8 check, rook d8, rook takes d8, king e7, bishop a3 check, only move king e6, and then f5 mate. So all my pieces are actually doing something now. Like, the whole point of my play with like knight takes b5 and then pushing g5, going f4, I don't know, even the idea of going like rook d5 back to d2 so that the other rook can go behind, it all like makes sense all of a sudden, and all these pieces are involved in the attack. Yeah, sure, the other pawns are not involved, but you don't really need everything else. But this would have been a brilliant end, of course, to the game. However, my opponent played the move f6, which makes sense, I would say. The point is after rook takes d6, they want to go queen takes b5. So they don't get this mate with queen d8 and stuff. So they have like room from f7 to run away. I played this move f5 with the idea, I believe, if you take queen b5, I take king f7 as queen e6 mate. And here, what's the idea? Why did I do this? Let's see. Why did I do this? Maybe check. And then knight e7. Where's the mate though? I'm not buying this. Let me see. Well, I have to take king e8, right? And then rook d7 at the end. That's looks crushing, not gonna lie. Like, black can't move their pieces. Even, something like g6 is also, g6, there we go, g6, exactly, queen f7 is coming. Nice, that's the mate, yeah. They can't prevent it. So if bishop e7, much more resistance, I mean, it's not really much more resistance, this is also gonna lead to mate. Or first bishop a3, queen b7, rook d7. Yeah, this is just disaster. This is not how you defend. So my opponent played this move. f6, f5, rook d8. Here I play queen c4. So I'm threatening mate, attacking the bishop. My opponent played d5, like last resort, but takes, bishop a3 check. And he just resigned, because after king f7, queen. Yeah, it was some time ago. It was a long time ago. I don't remember everything. But yeah, that was GG. However, now it's your turn to find the best defense. Where did black go wrong? I'll tell you, there is a defense in this game somewhere. I mean, I'll take it as back as possible, but okay. So starting from here, where do you think? Yeah, so that's the question. Where did black go wrong? Like, it's all nice, great, fantastic, but there was definitely some sort of resistance somewhere. Like, it cannot be that simple, right? You can't just go calculate a bunch of things and then win the game. In fact, there was actually some resistance. So actually, I'll just make it easier on you guys. The resistance is in fact in this position where we kind of skipped. We said queen takes b5. And then we never calculated bishop takes b5 because it just looks horrible after rook takes d6. But like, there is a way out. You don't like lose immediately. In fact, you might not lose at all. This just looks super scary. Like, you're gonna play rook somewhere, discover check, and then it's probably gonna be mate. But I saw this defense. My opponent completely overlooked it. The defense here. King e8, yeah. King e8. That's a perfect defense actually, because now after rook takes b6, bishop takes b4, rook takes b5. As far as I remember, bishop e7 is the move. And if I still remember correctly, it's not capturing on e5 what I would expect. I mean, I'm gonna recheck it. I think it's f5. Yeah, computer does give f5 if I remove the thing, like the arrow. And here it says bishop e7. Yeah, this is correct. I remember it correct. And f5, it's not capturing on e5, but it's this, with the idea after takes on g5 check, king b1, knight e7, bishop takes e5. It's clearly better for white. It's not winning or anything, but it's 0.9 apparently. But I don't know if he had a better defense before. As I said, it was a long time ago. But yeah, this whole sequence with queen b4, f4 was definitely good. Yeah. So that's that game. All right. You guys are doing great, actually. All right. I'll show another one, and it's gonna be this one. I'm just gonna ask you like this position. All right, so white to play. Sort of want to show this position and then kind of maybe go back and then show the rest if needed. But this position is white to play, and it's one of my favorite games, I would say. I was already a GM at this point. That endgame, yeah, the previous endgame definitely is scary for black, but that was like his only defense at that point. He didn't really have much of a chance. But yeah, this is one of the games I really enjoyed playing. It was another GM norm tournament. I was already a GM at that point. I was one of the GMs. So yeah, black's last move is highlighted as bishop to d7, from bishop to c8 to d7. Yeah, take your time. This is quite a good one, I would say. It's not horribly difficult or anything. It's just nice. Rook h7 is tempting but risky. Yeah, that's why like try to see as much as you can. But yeah, there is quite some stuff to, I would say, calculate. It's probably not that obvious, but it's nice stuff. So far suggestions. I'm not gonna say it's correct or wrong, because obviously like one of the suggested moves are gonna be correct, but there's obviously a hanging pawn, and then there's also this move queen c7, trying to trade queens, with the idea of like playing a great endgame. And then b3 is another suggestion. Like, you can't go wrong with b3 is another suggestion, because you're just too solid. So all of those moves listed are actually quite logical. But yeah, I'm not gonna spoil the party by saying, oh, this is correct, that is wrong, or whatever. I think they're all good. The reality is there is not one correct move in this position. So it's just how my perspective was at that game and at that time and so on. But yeah, let's see if anyone's gonna like give a complete line or anything like cool like that, or it's just gonna be like a one move recommendation. It can be either, I would say. But
was this game in St. Louis?
This was in St. Louis. Yeah, this was another norm tournament. F4, F5, Rook F1, yeah. For context also, the black pieces can still castle. They never move the king. Alright. There are too many moves. Yeah, that's right. That is correct. Queen c7, Queen c7, Rook c7, Rook d8, Rook e c1. Okay. That's a sensible continuation, maybe, kind of. It's somewhere there. So I'll give a hint. The hint is that none of the moves mentioned in the chat is the move I played. I mean, all of them make sense, but it's none of them. I think it's time to reveal that it's none of them. So it's not Queen c7, it's not b3, it's not Rook h7, it's not f4, it's not Rook f1 either. So it's neither. So what logical move in this position? Knight d7 is not that either. So we're playing guess the move. It's not knight f7, no. So you guys are just throwing moves, and I'm happily saying that's not the move. So I'm curious who's gonna write the move. I feel like someone's gonna write it out of just run. Like you're gonna run out of logical moves, right? At some point. You're going to run out of legal moves. Oops. So what is it? It's neither. None of them. I don't, as far as I remember, again, this was like 2018 or something. The move I played was the top move, I think. We're gonna verify it as soon as I say what move it is. I'm gonna show exactly. I'm pretty sure nobody mentioned the move. I'm checking like both YouTube and Twitch. Rook h3, no. Let me check it again. I don't know if I can scroll. I don't think so though. Like I feel like I drew all the highlighted moves, like all the mentioned moves. They're all on the board. So if there is a move that you suggested and I did not draw an arrow for, please let me know. I might have missed it, but I don't think so. I feel like that's all the suggestions. Knight g6, no, he just takes it. Knight g6, he just takes. All right, come on. You guys can do it. I like it. These puzzles are funny. Like, I mean, you guys suggested all the best, like, logical moves. a3, queen d3, no. Knight e6, no. Knight c6, sorry, no. a3, no. Knight c6, no. What else? Queen d3, no. Oh, somebody's onto something. Somebody is actually recommending some logical stuff, but they haven't really suggested a move. So, King e3, yes. King e3. That's what I played. Hi Viraj, welcome. Yeah, King e3 is the move, actually. The point is that I do want to play Queen c7, but I don't want him to like take Rook takes b2, right? Like I just don't want that. It's check. I also love to take on h7, but like again, there is all sorts of like rook takes b2 check again. Like, I don't want to be under check. I want it to be my move, so I'm just going king e3. And like for sanity check, I'm just gonna turn on the engine and let's see what the arrow is gonna point at. Yeah, see, it's still king e3. Like, the move's actually evaluation did not change, right? It's still the best move. I mean, okay, the other moves win too, but if you have such a fancy move, right, like king there, so why would you not play it? And just to give a little context, the reason I didn't like mention how this game kind of came there is that my opponent's like last move was one move before that was knight takes here, and then I just played king takes d2, so kind of leading up to king e3. Of course, there's actually stuff to calculate, so I just made you guys like guess and everything, but you do have to calculate f6 when you're playing king e3, and this is actually what I did during the game before I played king e3, because if there is nothing concrete, then king e3 would be like silly. So that was my whole point. When I played king e3, I sort of knew my opponent's going to go something like f6. For example, if they played something like g6, I would say, like defending this pawn, I can easily play queen c7. And imagine a situation like this where these are not necessarily the best moves, but you get a position like that. They're just busted. They can't move at all, and then you're just going to figure out how to win the game. Like, you're putting pressure there. You might just reroute this knight from, g4 to f6 if you really want to. You don't have to. This is weak, that's weak. This rook can come from here, there, and then invade there, and then pick up this pawn maybe. So they just can't move. Like, there is no way. But it's just to limit counterplay, king e3. But what after f6? They're attacking the knight. Yeah, I did play king e3 in a classical game. I mean, I like such stuff, you know, counterintuitive. I mean, it's not even counterintuitive, it's just getting out of checks. Rook h7 is the suggestion, yeah. So what happens if rook h7, rook takes h7? How do you continue? Just needed another hour guessing moves. No, you would have came up with king e3 at some point. Queen g6, very good, yeah. Rook takes h7, this is critical. And then here my opponent resigned. But the point is, after rook takes, we go queen to g6 check, which wins the game on the spot, because if king f8, queen f7 is mate. If king d8, knight f7 is fork, you win the queen. So the only thing left is actually king e7, where you go queen f7 check, king has to go to d8, and here you go queen g8 check. Notice the king can never step on the c file. If king ever goes to e7, then knight g6 is mate. And if the bishop blocks, then you go knight f7 check. They can't take it because of the pin, and then you're going to win the queen next one when the rook is hanging. And yeah, my opponent resigned after rook h7. And this actually came from the most boring opening in the world. It was a London. So that kind of shows that you can still get a lot of fun stuff coming from this opening. And yeah, it was a London, but I like to play my London very dynamically. So yeah, it was definitely a fun stuff. And yeah, king to e3. This is one of the highlights, I would say, of my career. I mean, it's not like the best game I played, but a king move that's positional and is very strong is I would say something that made me super happy. And yeah, you did join in the very end of the stream, but I'll be around many more times, so hopefully I'll see you all in the next streams. But until then, I wish you all a good night, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. And I'll see you all in the next stream. So until then, take care and see you later.